Get your mute off. I can't hear you. You're on mute. Cousin's trying to figure out how she can get on so I can hear her. You can't see these glasses, y'all. She's rocking some serious, like, Harry Carey type vibes right now. I love it, cuz I love them shades. Okay, right, because we're going into Halloween. So you're a mime. So you're just going to talk like in mime language. It's okay. I got you. We get we'll get you like a notepad, you know. It's all good to figure that out.
There we go.
Hey, cuz.
Hello, everybody. Hey, cousin.
Hey, cousin. So, see, y'all, this is the hairdo. This is the final reveal that Jess was working on.
I like that.
I did a live yesterday, and I was teasing. I had the color all up in my hair, so we did a little blonde in the front, went a little bit darker throughout, and in honor of Halloween, I got my black lips going.
I see it. They look kind of fruity, like some blackberry or something.
Oh, that's my favorite. One of my favorite fruits. So
okay,
but it's good cuz those glasses though. Come on now.
Yeah. I decided to come through like Elton John tonight. I wanted to, I wanted to have that effect tonight.
You got them Harry Carey vibes going, man.
It is. And now, Chicago Cubs.
Yes, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So how you been, cuz? How you been? Okay, I saw your live the other day.
Which cold. One? I do so many.
The one bright and early in the morning. Bright and early in the morning where it was like just colder
that's my moonlighting job. And we have to do rounds on the property.
Yeah.
So you're on the go-kart and I'm doing like, the go-kart only go to 40. So I'm doing like 50. And the wind was
oh my gosh.
So I wanted the audience to figure out the word. It was cold than a
yeah, well.
Yeah. Only my aunt got it right. Shout out to my auntie Renee. She got it right.
All right. Yeah, I'm not ready for this weather. I don't like this weather. I don't like cold weather. I don't. Okay. I am a warm weather person.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, especially when it's raining and cloudy and just yuck. Yeah. But you're going to have to be bundled up. You're going to have your scarf and jacket, hat all going
I got a fake fur. I'm going to wear that.
Yeah. Now, how often are you? Like a bear. Is that every morning for you, or is that just?
No, that's moonlighting. So that's like every weekend.
Okay.
I do that so I can support my wine habit.
Nah.
That's all. Just something a little strange for a little change.
There you go. There you go. Nothing like, you just losing a couple of toes and fingers. No big deal. Little icicle hanging from your nose. It's okay. It's Jack Frost. Like he's
actually that's sexy when you have. That's sexy when you have frozen nose hair. That's what I was told. It's very sexy.
Yeah, I believe that. Did you ever? I remember. Oh my gosh, I remember one time. I don't know how old I was. 9. I don't know. I had taken a shower in the morning and I left the house with wet hair in the middle of winter. And y'all, if you're not from Chicago winters are brutal.
Oh my God.
They could get cold. So I'm waiting in line to get in school and I'm literally making snow in my wet hair because that's how cold it was. I'm like doing this and I'm like, oh, look, I done made snow with my wet hair.
And did you get sick?
No, I didn't because I was bundled. I had my scarf and my grandma made sure I was covered head to toe, but the little bit of hairs that were still sticking out, I was like, oh, there's something new. Science.
Hypothesis in your head. That was cute.
Exactly. So, T, I gotta ask you a question, because this on my mind. The whole story with the Gabby Petito and the Brian Laundrie. I mean, it's been on the news. I don't watch the news, but it's gonna pop up everywhere in social media. Have you heard the story? Like
No, I
the
haven't.
okay, so it's Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito. They're like this YouTube couple, and they were doing a vlog on their travels, and they went traveling from like I think it was Florida or New York all the way through to like Wyoming or Colorado, somewhere more west. And he comes back to his parents' house in Florida without her, and the parents then file a missing persons report saying, how come you came back and she's not with you? And he wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't give up any information. His parents like, he's not you could talk to our attorney, blah blah blah. So it's like, why? Well, eventually they found the poor girl. She was strangled to death. And so now they had a manhunt for him, trying to find him. And they found him. See, here's where I have a problem. Supposedly, they found his remains in a park, some kind of wildlife park in Florida. Now, I know I'm not the only one that kind of feels like, is that really him? Because here's the thing. His parents had reported him missing September 13th or something like that. And the area that he was found in, they had already passed that area with like bloodhounds and FBI and everything and found nothing. Then his parents, like a few weeks later get involved, and they found him in like 30 minutes. So, I mean, they said they found his some remains and stuff in a backpack. Supposedly. And everything like that. It doesn't sound, it's just not, something just doesn't sound right to me on that whole thing. But
so what's your question about that?
Well, my question is, if you need to read the story, but do you believe that he's truly dead, or are his parents covering it up for him?
Well,
because all of a sudden, here's another thing too. The police are saying, oh, we made a mistake thinking that they mistook his mother for him when they were doing surveillance on the house because they were built the same. So then I go back and I'm looking at, I'm like, first of all, he was bald. She's got hair.
Okay.
Second of all, she got, boobs.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He had facial hair. She didn't. So something just doesn't line up. But, after all that, do you think he's really gone, or do you think the parents are covering up something? Latrice Wright. Hello, Latrice. She says, I think that parents are covering something up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so, Latrice. I believe you.
Yeah, I see him. He's a handsome guy here.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'll tell you why. There's been, oh my God, so many cases similar to this one. Not the same history, but usually when a case is like that, 9 times out of 10, he has either unfortunately raped or strangled, murdered the victim. And the police, everything is money, money and drugs and sex. So the family might have paid the police department off. I mean, it's so many variables. But for you to come back, which was the bell ringer for me that you just told me within 2 minutes, for you to come back and they ask you, where is she? And you don't say anything, I have a problem with that.
Right. Like, what are you trying to cover up? Like, you first of all, you don't say anything. Your parents are not saying anything. Your parents are saying you're going to have to talk to our attorney, like just right off the bat. Like,
yeah. So why would you say that? Yeah, that's guilty. That's guilty. And another thing people might not want to hear. I'm going to speculate that they're friends, but they might have been going together or whatever. And there's been incidents like this too, where there's a sexual act and they accidentally kill the other person, or it could have been something like playing. I hate to say this, but this has happened. Playing, and I don't know for what reason you would play choke me, but you playing and you choke to the death. I mean,
yeah.
If your gut feels that way, I think everybody else's gut feels
Yeah.
that way. So yeah.
Latrice also said, I agree. They found his remains too quickly once the parents got involved. I agree. They did.
Mm-hmm.
Like you telling me that the bloodhounds and the FBI and all these people doing all that search and the dogs don't pick up anything. The parents are there to help. And within like 30 minutes to an hour, they find his remains.
Yeah. There's some wash.
Yeah. I
There's
just
some.
think there's something weird going on there, but
Do you
whatever.
remember? Do you remember this case that happened? Oh my gosh, I don't know how many years ago, but there was this gentleman, and he was like some special uh, task force trained SEAL type of dude, African American. He was handsome as well, and you remember he was killing people. Like he accidentally killed this couple that delivered the mail, and uh, he just did. He went on like a rampage.
Yeah.
No one could find him. And you
Mm-hmm.
remember he mailed like this packet to the news station and all this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then supposedly, what was it, 30 days later or something? Supposedly they found his remains in some cabin off somewhere. And I was like, nah, not buying it. Not buying
Right.
it. So
Right.
yeah, I believe he's guilty. I don't believe he's dead. But
Yeah.
anything, money talks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I get you're a parent and you want to protect your child, but if you know your child's guilty, now you're aiding and abetting a criminal. So now you're putting yourself into deep,
mhm.
what? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
poo-poo. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. It just sounds like a Hollywood movie. It really does. It
It
sounds
is,
like
unfortunately, you have people out here doing it. You remember the what was that? With the track star, the guy who had the fake legs or whatever. And you remember Cat Williams made that joke about him, poor little tink tink. You remember he
oh
killed his fiance.
yeah.
Remember that guy?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
he said he didn't know it was her, but I mean, after they investigated and did more stuff, they were like, yeah, you knew it was her. So
Yeah.
I don't know. People snap. Again, that goes back to
Yeah.
mental illness. So
Oscar. Miss Beautiful Christine Prophet says Oscar Pistor. Oh gosh, I'm going to say that wrong. Pistorius, Oscar Pistorius. That was his name.
mm,
The one.
that's it.
One you
Thank
just
you,
said that
Queen
with.
Prophet. Yeah,
Thank you,
that
Queen Prophet.
guy.
Yes.
He was this well-known, celebrity sports figure, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
but he was guilty as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah. Oh, and Latrice brought up another good point. Latrice, I love that you're commenting. I love this. This is great
thank
interaction here.
you,
She
Tree.
said, yeah, she said, and then one more thing with all of the missing and exploited victims, how did this case garner so much media attention? Amen.
You know
Amen.
how.
We know how. We
Yeah,
know how.
unfortunately,
Unfortunately, but yeah, I
we give our condolences to her family.
to her family for sure. It's just sad that what I find sad too is that these parents are not going to get the true closure that they deserve. They got the
Mm-mm.
closure that okay, she's gone, she's
Mhm.
passed, but they, I mean, you know, just that he's guilty, but now he's supposedly dead and his
Supposedly.
parents did
Mhm.
nothing. So these
Yeah.
parents definitely didn't help um, with any closure for her parents, and I think
No.
that's pretty crappy. Because if it were the other way around, you know what I'm
How would
saying?
they feel? Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the problem. People don't put themselves in other people's shoes often enough, and that's why we live in the world we live in.
Well,
Sometimes say that.
the late great Marvin Gaye said it best. Make you want to throw your hands up and holler.
Mm-hmm.
We just live in a ball of confusion. So
We do. We really do. It's crazy, but Felicitas says hi, ladies. Hello, Miss
hey,
Martinez.
how are you doing,
Yes,
baby?
Latrice also says no one will be held accountable for her death. Sadly, agreed. It is very sad, and very insensitive. Absolutely, because I just don't get
Yeah.
it. But that's a case that's just kind of like I don't know.
Yeah.
Then
If you feel that way, cousin, I'm telling you, you're not the only person that feel that way.
oh, I
You
know.
know,
I know.
and that's because you know what I told you in the very beginning of one of our first or second podcasts. 3/4 of the world has no conscience. That means they do not give a
That's sad.
and yeah, yeah. I
That's
mean that's
really
like a
sad.
known. It's a known fact. It's not something that I just made up. It's like
Yeah.
Dr. Luskis. He studies it. You know, he was a psychology major, and
Yeah.
to hear that, it was like, so you telling me only you and I care, and the other the other 2 million
Yeah.
don't? Wow.
That's a big number. That's a big number. And that's just sad. That's just sad that people don't, I don't know. I can't understand how people can be so cold. You know? It's I don't know. And that's not something we'll ever understand because you and I are very caring people, caring, loving people, empathetic people. So we would never understand what it's like to not feel and to not
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
It's
saying?
it's
So
nobody does it's so many with the words, sympathy, empathy. I mean, it's just
yeah.
selfless, heartless.
Yeah.
It's a lot. All of those are what's going on, and so you have to whatever it is, you have to be spiritual. You have to try to think positive, because the next person isn't.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's so true. So T, how's our girlfriend doing? How's Miss L
Miss
doing?
L'Oreal,
Miss L'Oreal. I saw
she's
that post with the soulmate and you put the little L on your thumb. I was like,
yeah, it was
oh,
actually
there you
in
go.
there, and I was like, I
Yeah.
got an L in my thumb. Get out of here! I never thought about that. I just thought that was fat around my knuckle. I didn't know what that was. So
Mhm.
after doing the TikTok, TikTok is truly amazing.
Yeah.
It's an outlet for you and I, for King Prophet, Queen Prophet. There's so much entertainment and so many things. I mean, you learn how to cook, you learn how to fix the car, and loud be doggone, you learn how to dance on TikTok.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
it was so many people that had no rhythm, and every time you turn TikTok, somebody is.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
believe me, have you seen mine? I mean, that's all we did when the
girl,
pandemic
you was
first
you was you
started.
was
That's all we
TikToking
did
before.
was doing TikTok and dancing.
Yeah, you was TikToking
Yes.
way before it
Mm.
got as popular as it is now. So you're probably the queen of TikTok. But
No,
she's
that's my
doing good.
15-year-old.
I know my baby, the oldest one. She's doing great. She is out vacationing now, um, and having a good time because tomorrow is our son's birthday. He's gonna be 21.
Oh, happy birthday. Ooh,
Yeah, so happy
21.
birthday. Yeah, he grown, but I still give him
Wow.
one of these though. I don't.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It don't
listen.
matter how big they get. You know what I'm saying? It's just
And he's a big dude. He's built like refrigerator Perry.
uh
I'm like, ugh.
yeah.
I still bust you. No, I won't do nothing to him. I love him. He's a great young man, very respectful. He's a good kid. Still a kid
Yeah.
compared to me. He's a good kid. But yeah, they're
Good.
vacationing out enjoying themselves because
Okay.
I had to stay here and do Buzzin Cuzzins. So,
Hey, you know what? It's our season finale because we're gonna
ooh.
close this out with a really great show. Really, really great show. We have a
Yeah, I'm
beautiful,
ready for our
beautiful,
guest tonight. Come on,
beautiful
Miss
guest.
Brenda.
So I don't know if you all got to catch our episode last month in September, which I think you should if you didn't. It was a great episode, very powerful. We closed out Suicide Awareness Month with 4 very special guests, and catch it on Spotify, on our Buzzin Cousin page, B-side, even the YouTube channel. It was a really, really powerful episode. And one of the things we touched on was Lindsay's brother Pat, who was one of my good friends growing up, had lost his life to suicide. But prior to that, he had started with an addiction problem.
Mhm.
And he had started with that addiction problem in high school. And so I thought it was so fitting when we were reached out to by Brenda in wanting to talk about her story. So Brenda is a mama of 3, a
Hey.
grandmama of 3, and most importantly, a survivor. And she is, if I tell y'all, a survivor of sex abuse,
Oh,
survivor of domestic violence, survivor of drug abuse, survivor of suicide.
mm.
So she's been through it.
Yeah.
So we're very, very thankful and grateful that she's wanting to share her story with us. So without further ado, please let us warmly welcome Miss Brenda Nichols onto the show. All
Hey.
right.
Hey,
Hey, Miss
what's
Brenda.
going on, man? How are you, ladies?
Good. How are you doing?
You know what? I won't complain.
Awesome.
I won't complain. It's a good day.
It is a beautiful day.
Yes, I'm above the ground. My mom used to say, I'm above the ground instead of below it.
Exactly.
Oh, well,
So
come on. That's
I
some
love
old school
it.
saying. I like
that's
I
it.
that.
love it. I love it. Well, Brenda, thank you so much for coming onto our show.
You're welcome.
You know, we got a little taste of your story, so I'm really glad we didn't get the whole thing because now we'll get to learn with everybody else in our audience about your journey, about your life, about how you got to where you are today. So please share with us.
No problem. First of all, thank you for allowing me to kind of share where I was and where I am now. And when I talk with Maurice, first of all, Maurice and we worked together
Okay.
for staff management many moons ago. And we have, grown to be friends, and we were colleagues, of course. And he knows a little bit about my story. So it's a journey. And I'm going to, this journey, it was hard, needless to say. But I made it. That's where it ends. And I'm where I am today, I truly believe, because it was God's divine order. We so often say, why am I going through this? Why did I go through that? But there's a reason for every season. My journey it's not an uncommon journey at all. There was some dysfunction. There was some sexual abuse that, for us, a lot of times we don't talk about the sex abuse, especially when
Right.
it's relatives.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
And unfortunately, drug abuse, sexual abuse, dysfunction within the family, it all plays a big part. They kind of intertwine together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far back as I can remember, the first man that I loved was my dad. And as I got older, I got high with my dad.
Oh,
So for
wow.
most people, oh yeah, for most people, they would say, "Oh, that's some sick." But even in my dad's way of thinking, in our sick way of thinking, he was still protecting me. Molestation, it plays a part in our suicide attempts, or even with the succeeding. You know what I mean? So when I heard about, stars like DMX, Michael Williams. With DMX, it almost felt like I knew him, which was why I reached out to Maurice. Say, look, we've got to talk about this thing. No one wakes up on a Monday morning and say, damn, you know what? I think I'm going to try some drugs. I'm going to use drugs. My drug of choice was heroin and cocaine.
Okay.
And it was a 17-year run.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I've been clean now 21 years.
That's amazing.
Go ahead, Mama.
That's incredible.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's incredible.
But the journey was crazy. I was 9 years old when I was first sexually abused by a relative. My parents were young. My mother had her first baby at 19. A year later, she had me.
Mm-hmm.
So they were young, and they still had that party thing going, you know? So most of us know back then we had babysitters, and typically they were our relatives. And I won't name names. And some of the lewd things that he did to me, you figure in the 60s, unlike the children of this at 9 years old now, back then we didn't know because our parents didn't talk about that touch, that unhealthy touch.
It was taboo. It was just something you just don't talk about.
You don't talk about.
You don't talk about it.
You know, what's done within the family stays within
the family. Mm-hmm.
But this brother, when our parents would go out and party or whatever, and he was the babysitter, he would touch me in places that I now know were places he should have never touched. He should have never touched me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I say places he should have never touched me, trust and believe.
Yeah.
He should have never touched me. And I didn't tell my parents. I didn't. Further down the line, I had a relative that molested me. I was in 8th grade. You're talking about 12, 13 years old. I mean, and he molested me. I'm like penetration, the whole 9. My mother was gone. And when I would come home from school, I would lay down on the couch and take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
He decided this day to have sex with me. And I was asleep, or I pretended to be asleep. The fear of it all, you know? And he was rather large, so he ripped me. And because he did, I began to have some medical issues. So my mom, she took me to the ER, and there was still sperm. And at that point, my mother thought that I was having sex. And I still didn't tell her that this man had raped me. Okay. So you know that rope got tight around my neck, you know, because I was a good kid, you know.
Yeah.
But now at 12 years old, my parents are thinking that I'm sexually active.
Right.
When in fact, I was not.
Right.
Okay. My mother used to tell me, Brenda, when you get out of school, come straight home. But Brenda, being who she is or who she was then, and I'm going over to a friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't home, and we lived in Cabrini. So coming down, she wasn't home. I decided, okay, she ain't home. I'm gonna go home now. And I got to the 5th floor, and this brother came out of the hallway, and he raped me.
Oh.
And his comment, and I remember it as if it was yesterday, was, and this is what he said, so I hope no one gets offended. Damn, this pussy feels good. And this is a grown man. At that point, I'm an 8th grader. So once he finished, he left me there. I went home. I still did not tell my mother what had happened.
Wow.
Because you were dealing with some intense trauma. I mean,
Exactly.
You had that trauma from the time you were 9.
Exactly.
And you probably still didn't even know how to process that.
Exactly.
And you're an 8th grader, and you definitely not knowing how to process it. Like, you all of a sudden probably think, do I have a target on my back? Do I have it written on my forehead? Like, come
do
get
what you
me?
want to do to me. Exactly.
Right. So,
you feel like with this cat, and he was dark skinned with pink lips, girl. I will never forget it. You feel like, dang, my mother told me to come home, and I did not. So this is my fault.
Yeah.
You know.
No.
And unfortunately, a lot of young sisters feel like, and not just women, men, what could I have done different? You know what I mean? So you internalize all of this insanity.
Yeah.
Now I need to escape.
Right.
You know, I need to figure out a way not to feel what I feel, which is where the drugs come in.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I got high, it was weed. And I went to Westinghouse Vocational High School. I mean, like pretty much a smart kid. You know, I had some stuff going on, but I was smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm smoking weed or what have you. And for some reason, the bus passed me by. So I totaled, I was so high, I didn't even see this bus. Who does that? I did.
And you said that was weed?
Yeah, it was weed. Well, you know, back in the day, it was real green, and they called it sesame.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, at that point, it was just weed. My beginning with narcotics was really like hard narcotics was acid. Loved acid. Okay.
And how old were you with that when you started that one?
I started using acid at about 18.
Okay.
And the trips that I would go on was what turned me on. You know, it's like I needed to just escape from reality, what we would deem reality, you know, and it felt good. I didn't have to think about the molestations or the rapes or anything of that nature. I was like, in my mind, I was free.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I was setting myself up for something heavier. When I met my ex-husband, he was a dealer. Okay. And he had 4 other women. And the turn on was for him, for me, was to see what I could do different that the other women wasn't. Okay. When in all actuality, I wasn't doing anything different. I was just another loop in his belt. Very narcissistic type brother. And because he sold heroin and cocaine. It was like a social getting high. I mean, like to me, because it was there. It was there at my hand, you know, at my beck and call.
It's easy access.
Exactly.
Easy access. It's there.
Exactly. Until I woke up one morning and it wasn't there. And I was sick. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You know, you got flu-like symptoms, you know, eyes is running, nose is running. I'm sick. And I realized at that point, I had a habit. I needed this dope. Okay. And he knew what it was, but I didn't. But I quickly found out what it was. You see, nobody wakes up on a Monday morning and say, I'm going to be a junkie. I want to be a junkie. You just don't.
Right.
You know, there's things that happen in our lives that we need to escape from. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to feel. And a lot of times, narcotics take us away from all of that.
So true.
You know what I mean? When I heard about DMX, I felt like I knew this man. And of course, you know, I didn't. But so many times I hung out with people that got high with me, I spent my money, and nobody thought enough of me to say, hey, this is a sickness.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with him.
Mm-hmm.
Although he would share that he struggled with narcotics,
Mm-hmm.
none of his crew was willing to say, we got to get you some additional help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a child, my middle son. And you know what's crazy was I was talking to him tonight, and I told him, I said, I'm going to disclose some very personal things about my drug abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I won't mention your name. And he said, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's 25. And he said to me, Ma, you know what? He was the night I had him, I had smoked $700 worth of cocaine.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And Taylor said to me, he said, I don't worry about where you were. It's where I'm at right now in my life. And he said, I don't have a record, and he doesn't. I don't have any children. I like my weed, but that's it. I've really not caused you any problems. So I'm okay with you talking about your drug abuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I was going to ask you, do your kids know?
Yes.
Like to all of
Yeah.
journey? They know they've yeah, and I'm just curious how it's how are they feeling? Like how has it affected them over the years? Because like you said with your middle son, when you had him, you had smoked $700 worth of dope. So kind of how has that affected them growing up and just in life in general?
You know what? They're pretty good. They've had their own struggles. My daughter, when I found out I was pregnant with her, I was 40 years old. Taylor was 3. And my oldest son was about 9 or something like that. And my thoughts with her was, this is back to back. I don't want any more children, period. My dad was like, no, we're not doing any abortions. You're going to have what am I going to do with 2 babies that would be toddlers? You're going to take care of them is what you're going to do. And with her, I was on a methadone maintenance program.
You said methadone?
Yes.
What is that?
Methadone,
I hear about it on TV, but
methadone is when you go into a methadone maintenance program, typically you don't have to buy heroin anymore. It's a substitute for heroin. And in the programs, you have counseling, you have meetings, and then at some point they wean you off of meth. Okay. Mm-hmm. Methadone, in my opinion, is about money. It took me a year to wean off of methadone. Methadone is, when I did the research, it is equivalent to 1 gram of heroin. Meth is equivalent to 3 times that amount. Okay. Oh, God. And I'm talking about pure heroin. And we don't see pure heroin, but that's what it's equivalent to. And you can go to a counselor and say, my methadone is not holding me. I still want to get high. And they'll increase it. There's people that's on 100 milligrams of meth. And once you leave that, with that strength, you're like this.
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
So it's a dangerous thing that you play with.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents, when you see dysfunction, and we all have some dysfunction in our lives. Like I said, I got high with my dad.
Right.
And he got sick. And before he passed, we had a conversation. And it was a conversation of regret for him. Daddy's girl, all of that. But that illness, because addiction is an illness, it
is.
had a greater hold on him than fatherhood. He apologized, we made amends, and we went on. But me and my daddy, we got high, So he has some things that he needed to deal with as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do I regret it? Not a day. I really don't. Because I am where I am today because of all of the insanity that I went through. When my cousin molested me, I knew at that age, if I had told my father, the outcome would have not been good. When I told my parents all that had happened to me, I was 28 years old.
Wow. And how did that make you feel? I gotta think that was just such a release for you.
It was. It
Yeah.
was. My mother, she was so hurt at that point that she was in denial. Like, no, that couldn't have happened. And unfortunately, that happens more times than not. Where the parents or the mother, the father will say, "You lying." That didn't happen. Depending on who it is. They just don't believe. It couldn't have happened like that. Yeah, it did. Your cousin raped me. And not just once.
Oh my God.
So what I would say to the young sisters or the young brothers, man, tell somebody. Because if you don't, then you very well may take the road that I took. Or many of us take this road. Nobody is saying, damn, I want to be a junkie, man.
Right.
And often people say, it's my choice to use drugs. It was my choice to, do the things that I did. But I was a functioning addict. I went to work every day. I worked in social service. And a lot of the women that I got high with, I canceled. Sick shit for real. I mean, stuff, my bad.
Yeah.
You know what
No,
I mean?
you said it right. That's some sick shit. Yeah, we understand. We got you.
You know what I mean? So it was like a coming out type thing. You're using, because I needed to escape. So yes, it was my choice to toot heroin. It was my choice to smoke cocaine. It was not my choice to be raped. It was not my choice to be molested. It was not my choice really to get high with my dad. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, it's just like you were saying, you were trying to find that outlet and that escape from that trauma that you just kept inside for so long because you couldn't tell anybody. And you found that escape, and your ex-husband got you along the lines of addiction, by having the easy access. So, and I think that's, like I was saying earlier with T, like, people nowadays don't try to put themselves in other people's shoes ever. And they just want to pass that judgment like no tomorrow. And it's like, first of all,
Huh.
you're not the ultimate judge. There's only
Exactly.
one.
Exactly.
And second of all, you don't know what my trauma is, what I've been through that got me on that path in the first place. So you can't sit there and say, oh, well, that was, you chose to do that and you fucked up your life on your own and all that. And it's like, but you don't know. And at the same time, it's like, you shouldn't have to justify to people either, because you know what? It's like a waste of your, sometimes it's almost a waste of your energy. Like, wait a minute, why do I have to justify my story, my journey, my life, my past? You know, it's not something that I need to justify to someone who's going to judge me. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? Now, if you want to sit down and educate yourself and listen to my story and my journey before you start talking, then we can have a conversation.
In that order. As my kid would say, facts. You know,
Hashtag facts.
They do,
Hashtag
yeah, facts, yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
You know,
But let's go back to I apologize. I know you were on a roll with your talking about your son, and then we drifted off a little bit. But go ahead and continue with your story. You were talking about your son, and then
he, you know, he Taylor is, I call him my Pooh Bear.
Oh, Pooh Bear.
Yes. He is, you know, like wanting to be loved. My daughter, who's 21, I had her at 40. She is more of a free spirit. You know, my oldest son, he kind of does his thing. So he's going through some things right now, as far as the kids are concerned. But his children, my grandchildren, but they have, honestly, because they love me unconditionally, you know, they saw the abuse, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse. And what I will tell another woman is you don't have to stay. When a brother calls you a bitch, how can you say you love me? Okay. Their dad was physically and verbally abusive. And a lot of times we say, I'm staying for my children. Wrong answer. Get the hell out of that situation. Period. I remember once this woman had bought him a car, and he had the audacity to drive this car home. And please keep in mind, I knew about these women. Okay. We knew about each other, you know. And when he came in, I took my keys because A, you've been out all night. And B, you had the nerve to drive this car home that another woman had bought you. And we started fighting. And this brother lifted his feet up to kick me like I was a dog. And at that point, my oldest son was there. He was there. He witnessed a lot of this. Okay. Domestic violence is so real. And we get caught up in the fear of leaving. What am I going to do, you know, without this cat? My children deserve to have a father. And they may deserve to have a father. But do they deserve to witness domestic violence, both verbally, physically, and emotionally? Because guess what happens? They become what they see. You know, they have no respect for women. And there's men caught up as well. You know, nobody, no child should witness their parent being fought or kicked or called out of their name or, you know, just abused on all levels, especially your daughters.
Yeah.
That's 100% truth.
Right. But
Because what happens is the daughters will then think that's the type of man they need to have in their life.
Exactly. And those are the type of men that they attract,
Mm-hmm.
or that they're attracted to.
Right.
It affects the boys as well. You don't think that it does, but it does, because that happened with my brother. He still to this day is affected by the verbal abuse and sexual abuse that he saw our mother go through.
That's right.
And he still holds on to that. But he's not where you're at, but he's trying to get there, and it's very hard for him. At 48 years of old, it's very hard, because we both love our mother. You know, he got to witness that, and I didn't get to witness her. And so, you know, mentally for me, I thought, oh, why did she keep him? Why did she pick him? You know, I'm thinking about abandonment, and it wasn't any of that. It was everything that you went through. You know, she was a 15-year-old mother. And you know, there was drug abuse, sexual abuse. And so my brother, you know, later on when she had him, he was a part of that.
Exactly.
And
we do hold on. T-Bizzle, we do. We hold on. It took, and see, the thing about addiction, even if once you get into a program, for me, it was NA and the methadone program. You have to face your demons. Can you imagine? You know, it's almost like a baby. You know, they're going to sit up. They're going to lift their head up. They're going to turn over. They're going to crawl. They're going to then begin to walk. So what you have to do in addiction is you got to do some soul searching. You've got to face everything that you've gone through in order to succeed in this thing. And a lot of times for addicts, they don't want to deal with that pain.
Right.
Period.
Right.
They don't. I didn't want to deal with the fact that I had a cousin who at 9 years old molested me. I had a cousin later on who sexually abused me. I had, you know, getting high with my dad later on really affected me, psychologically. But I had to deal with this shit. I had to, in my gut, deal with how I really felt about the abuse and why me. You know, why would you, as my relative, have sex with me? I was a little girl. You know what I mean? I was a kid. You know,
and having to face all of this, trying to face it sober.
Right. Exactly.
Right. You have to face it sober, and it's like until you face those demons sober, you're gonna continue staying where you are, because those drugs are making you forget it all.
Just forget. I remember one time I bought with an 8 ball of cocaine, a 10th of dope, okay, which is a lot of drugs. I rented a room on the north side of Chicago. And for every hit I'd put in that pipe, I'd snort some cocaine. So you see, it's really by the grace of God.
I'm trying to tell you, grace and mercy, honey.
Come on. Woo. The grace of God that I'm here.
Okay. So Brenda, how did you get out of that abusive marriage?
I divorced his ass.
There you go.
Once I got sober.
Yeah.
And I'm telling sisters, don't, if you can, don't let it go this long. I divorced him, and he still stayed in my house. Insanity, honey.
Where they do that at?
Right. Who does that?
Yeah.
Me.
Wow.
And when I woke up and I said, you know what? It's more to life than this. It's more to life than still, even though I'm sober, still dealing with the abuse, verbally and emotionally.
Mhm.
I had to, I had to surrender to God, just to be
Mhm.
honest with you. I had to go to my father and I had to finally say, I'm done. Move this brother.
Mhm.
Okay. I've got to live. I got to live. I got a daughter. I've got 2 sons. I've got grandchildren. I no longer, want to be in this thing.
Right.
And that's when, because I had been sober. I wasn't using. However, I still had not tackled that particular demon,
Mm.
Mhm.
And once I freed myself, I was free indeed. I told him he had to go. I gave him 2 weeks. Someone told me I wouldn't have gave him that. His shit would have been on the porch. But
Yeah.
and once I freed myself of him and I began to look at me and who I was, then I was good.
Mhm.
It's a process.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it took me about 40 years, maybe 30 years to free myself. And I don't want anybody else to have to go that long. That's a lot. My youth, I
Mhm.
often
Yeah.
say I gave this brother narcotics, the feelings of, what did I do wrong? Hopelessness, helplessness, you know.
Mhm.
I don't want anybody else to have to go through that.
Yeah.
Not for no
You
30
got you
years.
got rods of your youth. You got
I
rods
did.
of your youth.
I'm
100%.
telling
did.
you, she missed that. So now
100%.
you probably trying to, because you've been delivered from that. I bet you trying to live your truth now. You
Baby,
know the assignment. Yes, that's
I
how it
am.
works, baby,
I
baby.
am. I am. And I have a shirt that says I'm living my best life.
Mm,
Yeah.
come on,
And I
come
am.
on.
Oh, wait, you sent us your motto. What was your motto, Brenda, that you say in life? You
Be
say
true
what?
to yourself. Be true to thyself. To yourself, be true. To thyself, be true. Because, and I live by that now, because you're all you've got at the end of the day. I mean, I've got children. I've got, someone in my life that I care about tremendously, but it's to thine own self be
Mhm.
true. Period.
Yep.
Because if you can't be true to yourself, who else can you be true to?
Wow,
Right. It's
wow.
true.
That part. That part.
That part.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you can't. I have no desire to use narcotics. And yes, I'll have a drink. I'm not gonna lie, but drinking was never my addiction.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mhm.
addiction was the narcotics. My insanity was all that happened to me. And it's happened to many. But there's
Mhm.
so many places that we can get help now.
Mhm.
You don't have to stay in BS. You don't have to be afraid to leave. You can't stay for the children because, believe it or not, your children, they're affected by your behavior.
100%.
you know so when you free
100%.
yourself, believe it or not, your children become free. You'd be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids don't want to be caught up in this crap. They don't.
Mm-mm.
No child, no daughter or son wants to see anybody pound on their mother.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? And my children know my story. They know from A to Z.
Mm.
They do. And I love them dearly. They have been supported my children, my siblings, the organizations that I belong to. It don't matter. But you gotta free yourself. Can't nobody free you but you.
Right. It's true.
You know?
It's
There's
true.
help. There's places I got different places that I pulled up on the website for any woman that's involved in domestic violence. If you're involved in suicide, when my mom died, there was a time that I was done. And what people don't understand about suicide is they say it's selfishness. And it's
Oh,
not.
I hate when people say that. Yes, I don't like when people say that.
You know,
We talked about that. If you ever
Yeah.
if you get a chance, Brenda, please watch our episode from September.
I saw it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then my friend Pat that I was talking about earlier, he struggled with addiction.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things his sister was on, I'd known him since we were in like second grade. And when his sister came on, she talked more in depth about when his addiction started. And I honestly had no idea. I had no idea that it started in high school. And I did know that, he would always try to get help, but he would always fall back. But I didn't realize how long it went on for him. And then eventually it just, sadly he took his life. He just couldn't take it anymore. It's sad because he wanted the help, but nothing was helping.
Exactly.
And he had his own trauma from childhood that he was never, ever going to be able to, that he needed to face sober, but I don't think he ever was going to get that opportunity.
It was
because
hard.
It is. And it had to be with his dad, and his dad had passed on at that point. So I don't think he was going to get that closure or that peace. And it just, when his sister was saying, I just don't know what I need. I don't know what I need, because he was just so many emotions. But, sadly his wasn't successful, but we're so glad yours was. Yours is a true success story. I mean, 21 years is nothing to laugh about. That is incredible. Incredible.
I just want, touching on like suicide. I remember my daughter this morning in particular, I was done. And until you walk in my shoes, you cannot judge me or anyone else. And I cleaned up my house. I took a shower. I had just picked up a prescription of metropidol, which is a high blood pressure pill. And I had about 15 of them in my hand. I went into my bathroom and I took 4. My daughter knocked on the door like, "Ma, I got to use the bathroom." I had no idea that she was coming home early from school. Okay.
Wow.
And I'm taking these pills, and my thought was, honestly, do I continue this or do I stop? Do I let my child find me, or, man, and I'm dead? That's all I could, And I opened the door. And when I opened the door, tears is running. And it's like she knew some kind of way that something was wrong. And we both kind of like fell on the floor, and she was holding me. And I still had these pills in my hand.
And how old was she at the time?
Kayla, she was a sophomore in high school. She went to Noble Academy, and they had a half a day that day. So
that's my oldest daughter is a sophomore. So it's like 15, 16 years old. Wow.
So you have to, suicide, man, people just don't understand. It's not a selfish act. It's an act where you're saying, I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's a whole different mindset.
Yes.
And you feel that the answer is to end it.
To end it all.
And yeah, and I really love your transparency. I know for a fact about walking in your truth,
Yeah.
because it can happen in so many variables in your life. Like some parents, they'll never admit that they were horrible parents, but they did the best that they could do.
Right.
Um, and with suicide, you just think that's the quickest and easiest answer, and I'm not hurting anyone.
That's right.
That's where your
Right.
mind is. Yeah. And unless, like I said, unless you have a prayer for family, and you have people that genuinely, I don't mean fakedly or social
Mm,
media, I mean
that's
genuinely uh, love you, you will not. It's tough. It's really really tough. So I commend you. I just have to tell you before the night is over. I really love your transparency. A lot of the things you're saying, I have not experienced, but I have friends who were there. It's so many people out here hurt, and I think you should not just on our platform, but even on your platform. I think you really need to speak on it, because think about it. That's a part of your life that you can't get back.
that's right.
Right. Absolutely.
That's right.
So
That's
I
But
commend you on it. I love your children. I tell my mother that because, like I said, her being a former drug user,
okay.
and all the abuse that she went through, she always starts off her conversation, or she'll leave me a voicemail, and she'll say, "This is your mommy, and I'm sorry, I was a terrible mother."
Wow.
And I used to get emotional. I don't get emotional anymore because I tell her when I do talk to her, because I'm either at work or I'm on Buzzin Cuzzins or I'm performing somewhere, and I tell
Okay.
her, "Mommy, uh, I love you." It
That's
was
it.
it was
That's all we
never
need.
yeah, it was never my intention to browbeat her or disrespect her and be like, "You
mhm.
left me and I hate you." That was never my intention. It was always since I can say I was about 4 years old. I just wanted my mommy.
That's
So
it.
yeah. So with your relationship that you have with your kids, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I just want to tell you personally, I commend you. You are living in
Mhm.
your truth. You
That's
Yeah.
understood the assignment.
that's
Yeah.
it. That's
You
it. And
did.
always tell your mother. Always. It is a wonderful thing
Hmm.
when our children, no matter what we've taken them through,
Mhm.
still will say to us, I love you. My daughter and I, man, I couldn't ask for a better relationship. My
Mm,
oldest son, he posted something the other day on Facebook saying how he loved me and that,
Mhm.
you know, even though he's going through what he's going through with his children, and the loss of their mother, I'm gonna always be there. My middle boy, he'll come and lay his head on my shoulder, and no matter
Mhm.
no matter how often we talk, we always end, or they always end the conversation with, I love you. And T Bizzle, that's what you've got to continuously give your mother,
Mhm.
mhm,
because we feel that, that loss, or
mhm.
we were worthless, or we were useless. Nobody's gonna miss a junkie, honey. You hear me?
Right.
Nobody. Children, loved ones, nobody's gonna miss a junkie. And you may not think you need to reiterate that thing, but man, it means so. Take it from me, sister. It means more than you have any idea when you say to me, regardless to what kind of mother I thought I was, that you
Mhm.
love me regardless. Anyhow, and you
Yep.
know that you did the best. that you could do with what you had. Real talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never
You have amazing kids. You do. You have amazing kids because you're right. Nowadays, they could have done a total 180 and been the opposite of that and been like, I
Yeah.
want nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
You ruined my life.
Exactly.
But they did exactly what the opposite of that was and said,
Exactly.
no, mom, you did you did what you had to do. We love you. We know, we love you. You're a mom and you worked through it. We got through it. And, here we
Oh,
are.
my grandbabies give me life, honey.
Yes, they do. Oh
and
my
how
God.
old are your grandbabies? How old are
I
the grandbabies?
have my grandson is 13. My granddaughter is 11, and I got a 3-year-old grandbaby. And my grandson, you better not never say nothing about his grandmother, because he'll have you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes, they will.
Yes,
they
honey.
will.
Well, Brenda, thank you so much for coming on our show. Please continue speaking your journey, telling your story there's so many people that need to hear that. If, you have websites or whatever you want us to post on our page, we will gladly do that. So, people want people to reach out to you, whatever, we have a vast audience out there in Facebook land, Instagram world, and all of that. So yeah, I know you touched a lot. You touched me, you touched T-Biz, you touched obviously Maurice because he's got you here, and
oh, that's my guy.
Everybody watching. Yeah. Maurice is amazing. We love him.
Yes, I work with him.
We wouldn't be here without him.
Management. He is, he's just amazing. He used to plan our lunches, and they didn't see Maurice for who he was when he was, there. We remained friends. He's also my brother's frat brother. How that stuff goes. Just a humble man. I'm telling you.
He's amazing.
He's that guy,
Yes.
We always tell people that we are long lost siblings. We're just waiting to do that DNA test to prove it. So
that's it.
But Brenda, thank you again so much, and we would love to have you back on again. And thank you again for sharing your story, being so transparent, so raw, so truthful. Like I said, we love when things just flow organically, and I couldn't have asked for something more perfect. And again, your children are amazing. Your grandbabies are gonna just give you. Oh, I'm not there yet. I'm still raising my own babies. So.
But you got a ways to go. Don't speed it up.
I got a long ways to go. My oldest is 15 right now, so I got a ways to go. But But you enjoy those grandbabies, and congratulations again. 21 years is incredible, and I hope you celebrate that, and you're so proud. And every year that you keep going, you celebrate every day.
I will. And I appreciate you guys having me on your show.
Absolutely, Brenda.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, darling.
We'll see you later. Whew. Man, that's oof. What an incredible
it's a lot.
woman.
You can
What's
get
a lot?
You get filled. You become filled, and everybody's experience is different. But the part, like I said, what really touched me was with the children still loving her. I understand. And I understand about the suicide as well. You don't think that it's selfish. You think it's the solution to everything.
Right.
When it's not. And when she also made the comment, which I really like, I'm telling you, I'm gonna like follow her. When you live in your truth, you do a whole load comes off of you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And you just, like she said, your children fall in line. Everything lines up with you genuinely. So I just, man, shout out to Brenda Nichols. Shout out.
Yes, shout out to Brenda.
If you guys don't follow her, you Buzzin Cuzzins fans, at least tell her, give her a thank you. Send her, give her a heart.
Send her some hearts. Send her some hearts.
Yeah. Send her a heart.
Man.
Hashtag Brenda Nichols, hashtag living in your
Yes.
truth.
Live in
Because
your
it's a
truth.
lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. It is a lot because, man, the trauma started at 9 years old. I can't even imagine that.
And I couldn't.
To
And
40?
then the part where she
Long
said it was
time.
family
Yeah.
was.
Well, that is a statistic. Like usually, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but usually, if a woman or a child or a girl is going to get raped, it's usually by someone that they know or a relative. That's the statistic. It's not going to be by some stranger. It's going to be like someone they know. So,
that's a hurting. It's a lot. It's
a lot. It's heavy. It's heavy because
It's a
she
gentleman
didn't.
out there.
Yeah.
The gentleman, the artist's name is Rasan Patterson, and he was one of the children. He was famous like Britney Spears and them. He was one of those children that could sing and perform, and some of his things that he suffered from depression and suicide. He was molested and raped by people in his dad's church and by people in his mom's church. So imagine that. Not only is it worse because it's in your family, but now here you are in a place of worship and you have people molesting you. So it's just you don't know the other person's story. So again, shout out to our guest Brenda Nichols.
And like she said, speak up. Tell people if it's happening to you or someone you know, tell somebody. I know I have to say, I got to think like at that age, it's got to be so difficult because you're a child, and you're going to go through that because yes, the adults are going to be like exactly how she said her mom reacted. No, that didn't happen. It's what they call gaslighting. It's all in your head. No, that didn't happen. That's impossible. And that's where then it's not helping, like I'm telling you this happened and you're not believing me. So what do I do? But there are resources. And so we'll definitely have those listed out. But yeah, that was powerful. Absolutely powerful. But yeah. Whew. So on that note, cuz we're going to close it out. We thank you all for joining us. It's our season finale. So, stay tuned for 2022 and, holidays are coming up. My birthday is 1 month from today.
Hi.
And then you're December baby. So, we got the holidays, the birthdays. We got a busy couple of months coming up. So
we got a lot. Yes. Scorpio Sag babies. Yes, we are.
So, yes. So shout out to everybody who joined us. Once again, thank you very, very much to Brenda for being our guest today, tonight, and just sharing your journey and just, man, like I got to let it all marinate now. Like, this is all going to marinate overnight into the weekend because that's a lot. It was a lot. And we're just so, so grateful to her for coming on. But well, cuz it's Halloween weekend, so enjoy yourself. Stay out of trouble. I know you will. You're not a troublemaker.
Right.
You be good now.
I'll try.
All right. Well, again, thank you all. Once again, if you haven't subscribed to the B-Side Studios YouTube channel, make sure you do that, as well as give a Buzzin Cuzzins Podcast and B-Side Studios Facebook page a like and some love.
That's right.
And also on IG. And Brenda can be found at Brenda Posley on Instagram. So hit her up there. So with that said, cuz, I love you. I love you
too.
I'm sending you big hug, big hearts. All right. I love you. We love all of you out there, and y'all have a really good night.
Thank you, fans. Good night, everybody.
Good night.